So this video is going to get in the weeds a tiny bit. If you like Kiss, or kind of the Kiss family history, or if you like the band Black and Blue, or just Tommy Thayer, you'll probably enjoy this little video that I have for you right now. Back in the 1980s, I don't remember where it was or how I heard it, but I heard the song. I think it was just like a metal show on a radio station or something. I heard this song that was called Hold On to 18. And I remember listening to it. It was so cool. It had this great hook. It was kind of like, it was heavy metal, but it was a little bit poppy, and it was kind of just cool and had just the right energy. I don't know. I really loved it though. It's called Hold On 18. And I found out it was by this band called Black and Blue. So I went out and bought the record. I've actually got it right here. And it was this debut album by this band called Black and Blue. And you'll see right there, I actually have Jamie St. James, which is that guy. I've got his signature on this thing. So they put this album out. I went and bought it, and they weren't really well known. Not many people knew who they were, but I absolutely just loved this record. Top to bottom, front to back, I thought it was awesome. And then they came out with another album after this one called Without Love that was way more top 40 poppy than this one was. This was a lot heavier. And then that one had a lot of just almost like top 40 music a little bit. And interestingly enough, I loved that one too. And I had some friends, I was like, you got to hear this. And other friends of mine that didn't even like heavy metal bought that album because they liked it so much. And anyways, but they never really took off. They had more albums after this that I bought. And Gene Simmons got involved with them. But what was really interesting is, as the band kind of dissolved, Tommy Thayer, because Gene Simmons had gotten involved with them, and he knew Tommy Thayer, and he actually hired Tommy Thayer. I guess that would be him. This is kind of a drawing. He hired Tommy Thayer as more or less a personal assistant, Gene Simmons of Kiss. And then when a bunch of Kiss projects, he just got Tommy involved with these things. Then when Kiss did the reunion, Ace Frehley came back and started playing and put on the makeup and all this stuff. And he kind of was the guy that helped Ace and Peter relearn all their parts so they could go play those tours, when Kiss got back together. Well, then Ace started going back to his old ways, where he was being a little bit showing up late, and kind of they weren't sure if he was going to even make it to some of the concerts. And so what they did is they actually got Tommy the Ace Frehley costume and makeup just in case Ace never showed up to one of the shows. And then what happened when Ace finally left, Tommy Thayer ended up being the guitarist for Kiss for like the last, 20 plus years. So, I mean, if you've seen Kiss in the last couple of decades, that's who's actually playing the guitar. It's not Ace Frehley. And anyway, so it was kind of interesting to me though, because I was a Black and Blue fan, when I found out that Tommy Thayer was playing with Kiss, and I started learning all the story behind it, I was like, the guy from Black and Blue? Really? Yeah. And it was him. Well, so this record was pretty cool in a couple different ways. So first of all, like I said, I got to meet so many interesting stories that kind of come off of this. But Jamie St. James, again, long after this thing kind of dissolved, went and started singing for Warrant. And he toured around with Warrant. And this is after Warrant was kind of like, they'd been gone, but I don't remember what the year was, but I knew that Jamie St. James was singing for Warrant, and so I went to see him in this little nightclub in Denver, and I don't think there were 40 people there. But it was so cool because afterwards, of course, with nobody there, you can just go meet the guys. And I brought this with me, and I went up to him and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to be such a fan of Jamie St. James, and I had him sign this thing. And one other interesting thing about this album that ties into another video that we did not long ago is, if you look on the back of this thing, it says, and I'm sure you can't read it on the screen right now, but it says produced by Dieter Dierks. Now, where have you heard the name Dieter Dierks before? Dieter Dierks is the longtime producer of the Scorpions. So anyway, this album was produced by the Scorpions producer, Dieter Dierks. And I actually, like I said, if you've never heard this and you kind of like the 80s metal vibe, you'd actually probably really enjoy this album. Because the next one, which they actually reference in what I'm going to show you here today, is a lot lighter than this. It's a lot poppier, like I said. This one was a pretty cool, kind of heavy 80s, 80s glam metal kind of sound, but it had a little bit of an edge to it. So I really, really liked this record. So what I have for you today, which is kind of cool, and is an article about Tommy Thayer. And this is back when he was in Black and Blue. This is in 1986. And in what it is it's just a little article about him going back home on a break and just telling about that experience and where he's from and his family and that kind of thing. And it's kind of cool, especially if you have been following Kiss for a long time, because you'll know who he is. Because he really, his claim to fame ultimately is that he's been the guitarist for Kiss for the last couple of decades. But there was a Tommy Thayer that was an 80s metal guitar player before Kiss. And a lot of people like me knew who he was. And as a matter of fact, this article talks about Black and Blue actually opening for Kiss on one of Kiss's tours. So anyway, I think you'll find this kind of interesting. And again, it's more of just a little bit of a personal look into Tommy Thayer and his where he's from, because of course Black and Blue is from Portland. And it just talks about him going back home to that. So the title of this article is Band Member Between Rock, Quiet Place. And it was printed in the Oregonian January 2nd, 1986. And it's on page 16. And let's see. So Band Member Between Rock, Quiet Place. And so here's the article. Beaverton. It's good once in a while to get away from the frantic excitement of the heavy metal rock world and take a breather at the family home, said Tommy Thayer, a member of Black and Blue, a local-grown rock band gaining national popularity. Thayer, 23, visited his parents, Pat and James Thayer, during Christmas in the spacious Beaverton farmhouse that has been the family home for several decades. Black and Blue was the opening band for Kiss on a tour in Atlanta. Thayer was here during a break in that tour. And by the way, if you saw Black and Blue opening up for Kiss, tell me about it. Put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences seeing them and open up for them. And if you did, especially, did you even know who they were when you went to see them? Because I was a real fan of theirs, but I never saw them in concert. So even though I had this album and the next one, Without Love, like memorized on constant rotation. Okay, so let's see. Thayer said the Los Angeles area where he lives left a lot to be desired. Quote, environmentally, but we need to be here for our music. I like to come back here and relax, said the Sunset High School graduate. Thayer will be back in the area with the band toward the end of January. Quote, we don't know yet where we'll be booked in Portland, maybe at the Starry Night, he said. Thayer's three brothers, James, John, and Michael, work in the family business, the J. Thayer Company, which has its headquarters, and they give the location where it is. It'd be really interesting. I didn't look it up before I made this video, but it'd be interesting to know if that's still there, and the J. Thayer Company. Look. So let's see. So what do the businessman brothers think of the rocker in the family? And he says, we're a lot alike, only I have longer hair. John likes to fly to see our shows, Thayer said. Thayer's sister Anne saw the band for the first time when it played in New York's Madison Square Garden during the Kiss tour. Thayer said he became interested in music while attending Sunset, where he played the saxophone in a jazz laboratory band. In 1981, Thayer teamed up as a guitarist with Jamie Pond, a drummer in the Cleveland High School band. Black and Blue evolved from that duo. The band features Jamie St. James, formerly Pond, as vocalist, Thayer and Jeff Warner, guitarist, Patrick Young, bass, and Pete Holmes, drums. All are from the Portland area. Thayer said that playing Northwest clubs, we had no success whatsoever. Clubs in this area want to hear copies of the top 40. There's no room here for playing our own music, he said. Los Angeles clubs, on the other hand, thrive on original music, he said. In 1982, Thayer said the band bought an 18-foot truck and went to Los Angeles to check out the scene. Soon, Black and Blue was playing at the Troubadour, a Los Angeles rock band showcase. Quote, we'd played 8 shows and then came back. In January of 1983, we moved to Hollywood after we'd gotten some backing, he said. In Portland, no one under 21 can go to a club where drinks are served. That hurt our band because a lot of our music is aimed at teenagers. And that's interesting because I would have been although I didn't live up in Portland, I was definitely a teenage boy that loved their music. So I fit right in that group. Let's see here. High school shows here are few and far between. In Los Angeles, kids of all ages can go to clubs where drinks are served, unquote. He said while explaining why Black and Blue's popularity began to snowball in the LA area. Thayer described Black and Blue as a, quote, clean rock band with music that tries to convey positive thoughts. That's really interesting to hear that because I never thought of them that way. But I guess, anyway, that's just kind of interesting. But again, if you listen to that next album, Without Love, which again, it's funny, I loved it then and I loved this then. I don't love it as much now, going back and listening to it, because it definitely spoke to a teenage kid's mind. And although from a nostalgia standpoint, I love it, but I sit and listen to them and go, okay, yeah, that was really definitely teenager music. I still hold on to 18 though. I still think that one's just a killer song. Okay, so positive thoughts. During their first months in Hollywood, the band members shared a house. Now each has a place of his own. Quote, so we can have our own space and not drive each other mad, he said. Geffen Records signed the band to a recording contract in 1983. In November 1984, CBS Sony set up a tour for Black and Blue in Japan where, quote, the Japanese kids went crazy over the band. We sold out auditoriums as big as the Civic Auditorium. Japanese kids have been greatly influenced by Western music and what is happening here. Almost all the rock music sung in Japan is sung in English, Thayer said. Thayer said that although the band was paid a good amount when touring, overhead costs, part of which are sustained by the band, are astronomical. With the help of ICM, a booking agency, and manager Warren Entner, the band is planning a West Coast tour to include Los Angeles, Fresno, Sacramento, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, Spokane, and Vancouver, British Columbia. The tour will gain momentum with the release of the band's new single, Without Love, the title song from the new album. And that's the end of the article. By the way, I'm going to show you a picture here in the article too. But if you saw them on that tour, if you know anything about that, I would love to hear about it, especially because I loved them so much. And they just, I don't know, maybe they just never came through Denver. I didn't know that they had come through Denver when they did. Because I did go see Kiss around that time, but the time I saw Kiss right around then, I saw them on the Lick It Up tour. I think I saw them on the Animalize tour too. And I don't remember when I saw them on Lick It Up, it was Vandenberg that opened up, and it was supposed to be Riot, who's another band I absolutely loved back then. And they canceled. Anyway, I'd love to hear about it if you saw them. So this picture says Tommy Thayer, a member of the Black and Blue heavy metal rock band, was home for the holidays visiting with his parents, Pat and James Thayer, in their Beaverton house. Joining the trio is the family pet, Pi? Yeah, it says P-I. Anyway, there's a picture of Tommy Thayer, mom and dad, and their dog at the family home when he's on break. Anyway, it's kind of interesting, again, because I loved Black and Blue, and then when I saw Kiss, when they were back in their makeup, and I saw them on their End of the Road, or whatever they called it, tour that went on for, about 40 years, that last tour. I took my son and saw it. I wish they would have had Ace with them, but whatever. The Tommy Thayer was playing with them then, so anyway, Tommy Thayer ultimately became a really, really important part, not just in helping with the reunion and all the other things that happened, but he ended up becoming part of the Kiss family in the sense that he actually played in the band and played live for a couple of decades, really, in the Space Ace makeup and costume. And he's a great player and seems like a nice guy, you know. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy that, especially if you are either a Kiss fan or you know a little bit about this early stuff from the 80s and a little bit more of an obscure group. But I know that a lot of the people that follow this channel, there are a lot of people that I know, I just by reading the comments or remember some of the more kind of obscure stuff. And this, I think, would fit in that category where they're kind of lost and forgotten. But they were, to a lot of people like me, they were a really big deal, although they really never really reached significant fame. So anyway, if you saw them in concert though, or if you remember this stuff, I'd love to hear your comments. And of course, please follow the channel, like the video, share your thoughts, comments, input. I'd love to hear from you. It's so great reading all the stuff that people write. There's so many comments and there's so many interesting things. And I actually learn things when I put these videos out because we have a little bit of a sophisticated audience when it comes to this stuff, because the people that follow this channel and watch these videos, so often they're adding to the things that I'm talking about here. You know, I share a bunch of information. They go, oh yeah, and remember this, and what about this? And it's so fascinating because I get educated in the process of putting these videos out. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching this video and have yourself a fantastic day.